Picture this. You're 12 years old. You just got your first paycheck for a TV commercial. $800. To a kid, that might as well be $1 million. You feel like you made it. Now fast forward. That same kid is a teenager, then a young adult starring on one of the biggest kids networks in the country. The checks keep coming. Bigger ones. Way bigger. And somewhere along the way, his family does what a lot of families in that position do. They bring in a professional to handle it. Someone trustworthy. Someone with a suit and a title and a firm handshake. They hand him the keys to everything. And one day, years later, that same kid, now a grown man trying to buy his first house, finds out the money isn't there. All of it. Gone. This is the story of how Kenan Thompson went from a Nickelodeon paycheck to bankruptcy court, and how that exact collapse might be the reason he's still on Saturday Night Live 20-plus years later. Before he was the longest tenured cast member in SNL history, before Good Burger, before any of it, Kenan Thompson was just a kid from Atlanta who got lucky in an audition room. That first commercial check, the $800, kicked off something bigger. Roles started coming in. Then came Nickelodeon. All that. Then Kenan and Kel. And suddenly this kid wasn't just working. He was one of the faces of an entire network aimed at millions of children just like him. Here's the thing people forget about child stardom. The kid doesn't manage the money. Someone else always does. And Thompson has been upfront about this. He was 12, 13 years old, with checks rolling in that he had no framework to understand. No business classes. No contracts training. Just a kid who trusted the adults around him to handle what he couldn't. So his family did what felt responsible at the time. They brought in an accountant. Here's where it gets dangerous, and it's worth slowing down on this part because this is the actual mechanism of the whole disaster. The accountant didn't just want to file some paperwork. He wanted power of attorney. For anyone who doesn't know what that means, it's not a small ask. Power of attorney means someone else gets legal authority to make financial decisions on your behalf. Sign contracts, move money, make calls, all without needing to check in with you first. Thompson has said it himself looking back. There were red flags. But he was a kid, and his family, trying to make sense of a level of money and fame they'd never dealt with before, signed it anyway. At the time, it probably felt like relief. One less thing to worry about. Someone else handling the complicated grown-up stuff so a kid could just focus on being a kid actor. In hindsight, Thompson describes it almost like stepping off a cliff without realizing the ground was gone. Because that signature didn't just simplify things, it handed total control to someone with almost no oversight. Fast forward to right after Thompson wraps up his run at Nickelodeon. He's an adult now, stepping into a new phase, the unstable, unpredictable world of adult acting work, where nothing is guaranteed and every job is an audition away from not happening. He decides to do something that feels like a milestone. Buy his first house in Atlanta. He gets to the closing meeting. The moment where the money actually changes hands, where the deal becomes real. The accountant doesn't show up. No check. No money. No explanation waiting for him. And that's when the full weight of it hits. His entire Nickelodeon paycheck, the one that was supposed to represent years of work as a kid, the one that should have been sitting safely somewhere, was gone. Estimated at around $1.5 million. Not misplaced. Not delayed. Gone. It gets worse before it gets better. The way Thompson found out the full scope of the damage wasn't even through the missing house money directly. It was the IRS. Unpaid taxes started catching up to him. Taxes tied to income and dealings he didn't even know had happened, because someone else had been making those calls under that power of attorney. He had to sue his own former accountant just to prove, legally, that he wasn't the one responsible for the mess. He won that case. But winning didn't mean getting the money back. Thompson has said plainly, he knew from the start he was probably never going to see that $1.5 million again. And on top of the lawsuit, on top of the missing house money, came the part nobody glamorizes. Bankruptcy. Filing for it. Living with the credit damage. Rebuilding slowly from a financial hole he didn't dig. Imagine going from, I just booked my first commercial pride as a 12-year-old to filing for bankruptcy as a young adult. Because of a decision made on your behalf before you were even old enough to fully understand what you were signing away. Here's the part of the story that actually explains why you know his name today. Thompson has said that period, Roughly 2.5 years of financial uncertainty right as he transitioned out of steady Nickelodeon work. Nearly pushed him towards settling down in Atlanta and just stepping back. Taking it easy. Being 3.5 hours from LA, available if someone happened to call. But he didn't do that. Instead, that collapse became fuel. He's talked about how it fortified him instead of breaking him, how he rebuilt long and steady instead of giving up. And just 3 years after leaving Nickelodeon in 2003, he joined Saturday Night Live. He's been there ever since. Longer than any cast member in the show's history. Over 2 decades of Live from New York. A run that, by his own account, might not exist if that accountant had never stolen a dime. Because losing everything is exactly what made him hold onto steady work like his life depended on it. In a lot of ways, it did. Today, Thompson says he watches his money every single day. Not out of anxiety, out of a lesson learned the hardest way possible. So here's the question this story actually leaves you with. How much do you actually check on the people you've trusted with the things that matter most? Your money, your decisions, your future. How much of it have you handed off to someone else, assuming it's being handled? Kenan Thompson found out the hard way that trust without oversight isn't trust. It's a blind spot, and it cost him everything he'd earned as a kid, before it turned into the thing that built the rest of his career. If this one hit different, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.